Hello and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 19th of August 2024. It's Gary here again. Oh, you know what? That was a bit of a rough week, wasn't it? Two games with two very, very different outcomes, and it just seems like our wonderful club have concocted a situation where we just can't get out of our own way. That's what it certainly feels like to me anyway, from the stadium challenges, which I was told last week we are still targeting the Hibs game on the 28th of September for that one. And I did see on Heart in Hand earlier today a note that the final steel shipment has arrived today. So unless there is any hassle in terms of resource availability, if the contractors have left or to go to another job because there was no materials there or such, hopefully that's everything back in our hands now and we have the opportunity to go forward and get what needs to be done, assuming that the materials are all okay. To then hiring, did you hear this one last week, that we hired as a marketing manager on some sort of contract position or whatever it was, some clown that was obviously a fan of the mob from the East End, to the point where he quite jovially popped stuff on his social media, which wasn't very difficult to find, talking about Rangers fans as the Huns and a whole bunch of other disparaging stuff. I mean, and we hired that guy. Someone allowed that guy to be hired into the organisation to help the club. It's all gotten a bit toxic very, very, very quickly. And it's a worry. It's a big worry. I think what we really need to try and rely on is Philippe Clement just continuing to grind out results, especially domestically now that we know what our fate is in Europe, to at least give us something to look forward to. Otherwise it becomes open season, basically open season on the entire club at every single juncture and every single level, and no one who loves and genuinely supports the club wants any of that. Like, we don't want, I know I've said this many, many times for regular listeners, like, we don't want to be grumpy. We don't want to get to a situation where all we're doing is perma-complaining about absolutely everything. And do you know how we do that? We start winning games of football on the field and the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. It doesn't mean we ignore anything that's happening in the boardroom or with investors or on the business side in general. It just means that our job is to support the team. We support the team. The team are doing a good job of producing and providing results to give us an absolute opportunity to compete. And then the rest of it can kind of we can forgive some other bits and pieces. If there was a wee challenge with something at the stadium, or there was something going on the business side where a deal went wrong, or a vendor went bust or something like that. We've seen all that sort of stuff before, and we've been pretty okay with that. When we've been successful on the field, we haven't been anywhere near successful enough, not even close, this past wee while. Anyway, on to the games. Two games, as you know, for this last week, and the first one was last Tuesday's 2-0 defeat at Hampden in the UEFA Champions League qualifier to end our Champions League dreams for another season. And it was, I thought we'd put ourselves into a brilliant position in the game, and Philippe Clement talked about that in his press conference afterwards, where the plan was to kind of just basically run them all over the place for the first hour or so and then give ourselves an opportunity to have our superior fitness and hopefully our technical capabilities being able to put them away towards the end of the tie. It seemed to be working, and then until the red card, which was just an awful decision. And here's the thing for me, a lot of times whenever I see a red card in games, especially games involving Rangers, which is mostly what I care about anyway, but whenever I see that, sometimes it steals the team that get to the red card, that go down to the 10 men, sometimes 9, sometimes 8, depending on what type of game it is. But it steals the team, and the team are like, right, okay, they go into a more defensive mode, they give themselves an opportunity to really just solidify themselves as a team, as a unit, and go forward and make it very, very difficult for the opposition. We've seen that countless times with other teams that have done that against Rangers, and other times they kind of capitulate a wee bit, and they don't really know what to do. The changes aren't made quick enough from the bench to help shore up a particular area, or change the tactics in some way that's going to give them the best opportunity to continue to compete in the game. Unfortunately for this one, it just didn't fall our way, and we lost 2 goals. What was the goals now? Probably about 40 minutes or so after the sending off. I don't know exactly what the timing was, but we lose the goals. The first one was kind of tough one to take. The second one was we were just all over the place, and of course it comes so quickly after the first one that's basically the game and the tie over at that particular point, and it's just one of these things. So that's us consigned to the Europa League. On the positive side, I said this to some folks after the game. No one was wearing it whatsoever, but I'm going to say it again here anyway. The positives, we now know our fate. We know that we are now in the Europa League. I hope that would then correlate directly to the fact that we now know our operating budget in terms of what the transfers can look like. I know that obviously depends on who goes out as well, but it gives us that opportunity to say, right, okay, we don't need to worry about that 5 million euros drop down. I think I said 2 million last year, I got that wrong, but the 5 million euros drop down monies, that's gone and dusted thanks to the referee. So we know where we're at, and then we'll see what's happening from there. And another positive for me is we didn't have those extra 2 games, against, I think it ended up being against St Etienne. So that's another 2 games where we don't have to play, and it's a high intensity, high technical, high physical commitment and involvement, and where we're just going to get injured again because our luck doesn't seem to have changed at all on the injury front. I don't know what the boys and girls are doing in the background, but we're getting players injured that continue to be injured before, and we've now got proper injured there with a groin problem that apparently stemmed from his back, and this guy's missed something like 3 games in 4 years, and 2 games into his Rangers career, he's out on the sidelines already. Like, get a grip, man. Oh my word. And in terms of another positive, I thought that we did play okay. I thought that we did what we needed to do until the red card. I felt quite comfortable, honestly, watching the game, and then we got the stuffing knocked out of us, which is probably a negative. And on to the negatives. The results, of course, and the implications of that for sure, in terms of the financial implications for absolute sure. The referee decision, I'll get to this in just a wee second here under the referee watch, but his decision for the second yellow was just an absolute horror show, and then we looked kind of lost after the red card, which is a worry. Has Philippe Clement got the magic touch in terms of being able to set up teams for success, or is this a guy that's going to be on the scrap heap here in the next 2, 3, 4 months? It doesn't look like that with the extension that he just signed, but I don't know. I don't have the same fuzzies about his ability to absolutely set people up for success going forward. I know he has a whole bunch of new resources at his fingertips, and maybe he's just a wee bit spoiled for choice or something, but it's a kind of tough watch for right now. Still a big fan, still hope that he's got what it takes, but I'm not as brimming with confidence in his abilities as I was about 2 months after he arrived last season. On the stats, I'm taking most of this now from Live Score because the Rangers website seems to be completely all over the place, but then so does Live Score as well. So the two of them need to get together and figure out what's happening, because I'm just going to tell you what it says, and then we don't really need to spend a lot of time. It said we have 50% possession, 7 shots on goal with 6 on target, to their 5 shots on goal and 4 on target. 50% possession is kind of telling for me in a home game, in a European game. We're not dominating possession like we used to, and I think, was it Chris Boyd that was saying that last week? I think it may have been Chris Boyd that was saying that in the press last week, where Rangers teams in the past have dominated possession, and you work the ball around and you tire out your opponent and you probe and prod until you get to the point where you get an opportunity to have a shot on target, and it doesn't seem to be that we're doing that right now. Maybe that's not Philippe Clement's style, and that's alright if we're winning games, but when it comes to past that we're not winning games, that was 2 games in Europe and we didn't win any of the 2 of them, so that doesn't look so great. I'm not 100% sure. On the referee watch, I didn't even do the guy a service of trying to find out what his name was. He was absolute dog water for us for the entire game. Even before that, I was getting annoyed. He fell for all of their theatrics time and time again. Once again, I guess he must have been looking at some Scottish referees before, because he couldn't get his cards out quick enough, and whatever he thought he saw for Jeffty's second yellow that he couldn't get out of his pocket quick enough again. As I say, he should be ashamed of himself, this guy. Like, that was a terrible decision. I mean, for Clement to come out and say, in my 30 years of football, that's the worst decision I've seen. I agree, Philippe. This referee and UEFA at large should be issuing a public apology to Rangers for that decision. That cost us. It did cost us. And it's not one of these sour grapes where you're like, oh, only if, but, and, maybe, you never know, you never know. That absolutely cost us. I thought we were in control. I thought we were getting better. And we had an opportunity to really give ourselves a chance to go through, and he took that away just with that card, and with us as not really adjusting to that afterwards. Now, I appreciate and know that they didn't score until the end of the game, but they got a lift. You could see it, and we were just, as I mentioned earlier, looking a bit lost. So that literally changed the game. So that idiot, that absolute cheating idiot, gets a 1 out of 10, and I think that's the first time I've ever given a 1. That guy should never, ever be allowed to referee a game again. And by the way, on the negatives, the behaviour and attitude and diving and theatrics and cheating of Dynamo Kiev, pathetic, absolutely disgusting and pathetic. And I would be embarrassed if that was Rangers, by the way. So I know that Ukraine is having a hell of a time right now, but that was not a shining example of how to be a proper sportsman throughout the entire squad there. So yeah, they can go, and I hope they get beat in the qualifier. The second game was Saturday's 2-0 League Cup win against St Johnstone, which was okay. And quite honestly, I didn't get a chance to count completely between both, but I think there might have been more fans in the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary at Pinbar than there was at Hampden at the game. Oh boy, does it look absolutely desolate when it's empty, doesn't it? I know there was pockets of fans there. I don't know what the actual final total was. People were saying under 20,000, which to some clubs is an incredible turnaround. To other clubs like us, that's a statement right there, isn't it? And it just, I think that spilled onto the pitch a wee bit, and it was a rough watch overall. I spent as little time as I could kind of watching the TV, to be perfectly honest with you. Just I had a chance to socialise. We had the bar open, so we got a chance for a blather and just got a chance to look at most of the highlights, because it was a rough watch, a very, very rough watch for me. Positives, the result, and we got a decent draw. We're at home in the next round, well, at Hampden, of course, in the next round to Dundee, which will be ironic, because if we beat Dundee, then we'll be at Hampden for the semi-final, and then if we win that, we go to Hampden for the final. Remember, I said a wee while back, this might be a blessing in disguise when it comes to semi-finals and finals, in terms of our familiarity with the place, our understanding of how to play there, what it looks and feels like. So you never know if that will come to fruition as we go forward. Of course, we have to look after taking care of Dundee first. It was also really good to see Danilo back. Had 1 or 2 sniffs at goal, and another goal from CD9 to continue his hot streak, and a brilliantly taken goal, which was very odd the way that they actually managed that afterwards. The negatives, the first thing I have to mention, honestly folks, and it's really none of my business, but the St Johnstone strip was absolutely honking, wasn't it? Oh my word. I can't remember the last time I seen a shirt that I was so offended by, apart from the green and grey ones that we see 4 or 5 times a season, but that strip was just awful. They had another negative for me anyway. They had a lot more clear-cut chances than I would have anticipated or liked, but yeah, we're kind of on the ropes right now, and it is a cup tie. It's got a wee bit of a different feel to it. Fair enough. I thought that we overall, in terms of negatives, I think actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. Obviously, Proper getting injured, which I mentioned a wee bit earlier there, was not obviously what we were looking for. In terms of the stats here, this is where it gets a wee bit funky. 54% possession is what it said. Again, back to my possession comment earlier, that might be true. But on live score, it said we had 26 shots on goal with 11 on target versus their 8 on goal and 2 on target. The Rangers website had about half of that. So I don't know. I don't sit and count it. I just report what I am given. But one of those games that we're just really never going to talk about again, are we? We're just going to get moving. We'll just move on, say thank you. We're in the next round and see how it goes from there. On the referee watch, I thought the amount of time it took to award CD9's goal was stupid. After the very first replay, it became very obvious that the foul was the other way. I could see why the referee would have thought it was a foul in the first place, but as soon as we saw the replay the very first time in the pub, I'm like, that's a goal. That's obviously a goal. He's just read it wrong. Good for the referee for overturning his decision. That's a good VAR decision right there. That's exactly what we need. We could have done with some of that if we were so allowed, and at the game on Tuesday, to give us the best opportunity for the referee to change his mind. But I guess the rules don't allow for that, and that's just too bad. Other than that, based on what I saw, I think the referee did okay, so he gets the standard 7 out of 10. One game this week, of course, and that's Saturday in the league, and against Ross County at Hampden, the 24th of August, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 3 p.m. UK. The message here is just win. We know where we're going. We're going to Sharkhead the week after that, so we need to do what we need to do to get ourselves organised and do the right thing here, which is give ourselves an opportunity to go top of the league when we go over to the East End. So we'll see how it goes. On RTV, didn't hear anything material in terms of RTV, in terms of problems with RTV, so that was a good thing. On shout-outs, 2 shout-outs, kind of wedding related this week. The first one is I'd like to congratulate Connor Gunn. Connor is our social media guru for NARSA, and Connor had his stag do this past weekend in Nashville. I'm messaging him about an announcement that we're going to make tomorrow in terms of VIPs for next year's convention, and he's like, yeah, I'll get back to you on Sunday when I get back from Nashville. I'm at my stag. I must have missed the invite to the stag, but hopefully I won't miss the invite to the wedding, which I am sure is coming my way. And the second one is Scott Allen, former president of Bramalea Rangers Supporters Club over in Brampton, Ontario, and former communications director on NARSA. He got married on the weekend. I believe he got married on Friday and then had his big party on Saturday. Again, there must be something funky going on with the internet or something, because I missed my invite for that one as well. Not 100% sure what's happening there, but hopefully that will get rectified for the next time he gets married, and I won't miss out for that one. I'm looking forward to that one. Scott, congratulations in all seriousness to both gentlemen, and I hope your weekend and your days were great on the weekend there. In terms of the convention update, 297 days. What did I say to you last week? We're going to be in the 200s very, very quickly. It seemed not that long ago that we were in the 400s. To me, it did. I don't actually know if we ever were when I started talking about it, but we probably were. And that's 42 weeks until we descend upon Kissimmee in Osceola County. That is, of course, the 12th to the 15th of June at the Omni Orlando at Champions Gate. Just another reminder of the alcohol pricing. Domestic beer $6.50. Import beer $7.50, call brand drinks $7.50, bottled water, soft drinks $6, and still trying to get to the bottom of the wine conversation. And in terms of entertainment, I know I keep saying this, we do need to really ramp this up and make a decision as to exactly what it is we're going to do. Hopefully we'll get that done maybe by the end of this month, but possibly spilling into September a wee bit, and then we'll see where we go from there. There is going to be a Rangers theme to it. There is going to be some cultural aspects to it as well. It's just not going to be a flute band. Just that reminder once again. On the golf, I did email that the golf fellow, the sales manager that I dealt with about 6 weeks ago actually, and said, hey, did you forget about us? And he got back very quickly and very apologetically saying, very sorry about that, we'll have some preliminary pricing for you this week. That is this week that I am recording, so hopefully we'll get that information tomorrow or Wednesday, and then we can start to see whether that's palatable, and then get that ready for packaging and get that out there as well. Hotel rooms, of course, are formally out there. We'll leave the link on the website there. NARSA Convention Stories, I'm going to keep talking about it. I did get some tidbits of information. I didn't get a chance to write them down properly, but I'm going to do that. If I don't get any other convention stories between now and next week, I'm going to tell you a very funny story that involves Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary's very own Vice President Alec Liddell. I got his permission on the weekend to give my account of the story, and it's from Orlando. It's actually from Orlando the last time we were down in that area, which is 2011, I think it was, 2011. And it's a very funny story. It involves a bus getting headed by a drunk guy and a whole bunch of other hilarity that comes from that. Oh man, it was a great story. So I'll try and put that down. I just didn't have a chance to do that before. Here, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a double VIP announcement coming out tomorrow. I was really hoping we were going to get it done today so that I could actually talk about it tonight and give you a wee bit of an overview. But we have a couple of VIPs being announced tomorrow. Those that were part of the AGM over the summertime there will know certainly one of the two. The other one is a wee bit of a secret until tomorrow, but it's going to be a double announcement. We'll get that out there. You'll see it on our social media, you'll see it on our email distribution and such, and hopefully we'll make a bit of a splash about that. I know Rangers are going to be supporting us. That's one of the reasons why it's taken a wee bit longer. It used to be we create our own communication and then we just communicate it whenever we're ready. We now have other parties that are partnering with us for right now, so it gives us an opportunity where we have to just make sure everybody's comfortable with what we're putting out, and then we go from there. And we also might have one of the main outputs from the NARSA executive meeting last Wednesday night. One of the main things that we really wanted to do was to establish what the ticket pricing is going to look like. I know what the ticket prices are going to look like for this time, and I'm very delighted to get that organised. We're now going to get it packaged up on the website, get it packaged up electronically so that you can go and secure your tickets for the events. I won't give an idea of the pricing for you for right now. I'll do that breakdown when we're doing the communication, but that might be out if we can get all of our poop in a group, as they say. We might be able to get the tickets out for sale later this week, or I might just do that in conjunction with next week's pod and do that as an announcement. Then we'll see how quickly we can get to that. Yeah, and on the NARSA exec meeting, that was the main thing. We do have some work to do on RTV in terms of consolidating the survey results and getting that information out. We've been spending a lot of time on the convention stuff this last wee while, so we haven't had a chance to quite get to that part just yet. Communications on the Gers Guide, the main highlights from that is today on RTV there is Inside Hampden, which features the footage from the St Johnstone game. And lots of other bits and bobs. Actually, today, too many for me to mention. I just can't concentrate mostly on the first team. On Tuesday, that's tomorrow, when you might be listening to this for the first time, as if you would listen to this a second time. But you know what I mean? If you might be listening to this, you know, as a brand new pod, but it's actually a day later. There is an interview on Rangers TV coming tomorrow with Victoria Essen, who was in the New Zealand squad she's a goalkeeper with Rangers, and it was just an Olympic feature there. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what that looks like, what her Olympic journey looked like, and how she enjoyed the whole entire experience. On Wednesday, we have the Rangers versus Queen's Park, and that's the Scottish Power Women's Premier League at Broadway. That's an 8 o'clock UK kickoff. On Thursday, there's an interview with Vaclav Cherny for the Ross County preview. On Friday's the Ross County press conference, and then there's a retro interview with David White, former manager of Rangers, talking about his time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that and seeing what he's got to say. I don't recall seeing that before, so I love that we're using some of our archive information to be able to entertain and educate our fans at the same time. On Saturday, of course, is Rangers versus Ross County, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then on Sunday, the Rangers women are back at it again, Montrose versus Rangers, and that is at Links Park. Kick-off 4:10 UK, and the Rangers women's team has gotten off to a very good start this season, so hopefully that continues and we don't have that dip that cost them the championship at the end of last season. I was hoping that we might get an opportunity to do a bit of a review of the squad numbers, and there has been absolutely no discernible progress on that in this last week here, so I don't know, is it going to get to one of these? Because right now, as we're recording, what have we got? 12 days? 12 days to go before the end of the transfer window. A lot has to happen in 12 days if we're going to trim this squad down, get rid of some of these players that we think don't have a future at the club and get some other players in. Or do we get to the 1st or 2nd of September and go, well, that was kind of underwhelming? That's kind of what it's felt like the last few transfer windows for me, which is a wee bit unfair because last year Michael Beale travelled all over the world, literally just picking up a whole bunch of people that weren't very appropriate for Rangers. And this year we've signed, you know, whether it be confirming signings or making brand new net new signings, confirming the loan deals ones. You know, we've signed 9 apparently, so it still feels like it's the same team that we're watching on the field though, which is that part. On the Rangers Supporters Club registration process, it is something, I did get an email about that last week. I haven't had a chance to open it yet, but it seems that the club are continuing to go through with that. We need to pick that one back up and get organised so that we can educate our clubs to be able to get that organised. Two, I would be interested to hear from any of our member clubs as to what information you have been given, if any, if you've been contacted directly from Ibrox. I'm not sure what their process has been, if they're contacting us as an entity to be able to speak on behalf of all the clubs, or at least coordinate, or they're contacting the individual ones as well, or maybe actually do a wee bit of a reach out on the NARSA WhatsApp group and see where we go from there. In terms of events, Edmiston House, presented by Parks Motor Group, is going to host an evening with Jermaine Defoe and Kris, and that's on Friday the 30th, so that's a week on Friday. And tickets are on sale for that. On the 27th of September is the Rangers Ladies Lunch, presented by Molten Brown. And then, of course, the Rangers Charity Ball, their flagship event, is on the 2nd of November at the Doubletree by Hilton as well. Tickets details are all on the Rangers website. Now, what I want to do this week is I want to finish off with a wee bit of a personal story, a personal ask. You can decide what it actually is. And typically I wouldn't do this, but I want to use this platform as a bit of an opportunity to let you know what I'm up to let you know what a wee bit of my life looks like on the, when it's not NARSA time, I guess is probably the best way to say that. So last Halloween I left, that's 2023, I left corporate land and struck out on my own for my own leadership and life coaching business. And since then I've been engaged in a whole bunch of intensive trainings and coaching and consulting and teaching and doing that kind of thing. And I don't really talk about that, obviously, because this is an NARSA pod, it's not Gary Gillan coaching. However, I did want to ask for a wee bit of help or a wee bit of support to get the word out there. And what we call this in our land is our warm network. So your warm network is people you know, friends, family, colleagues, acquaintances, things like that. People who know you, who know what you're about, who know what you can do. And one of the reasons that I'm actually talking about that this week is that I'm hosting a free training session, which I'm calling a mastermind, on Tuesday the 3rd of September. It's in the evening, mountain time here. I think it's, what time is it, 6 p.m. or something like that? I think I should really know the time. And what that is an abbreviated part of a wider course that I've developed, which helps you identify and remove your internal or external blockers from your life, things that are holding you back. That's my gig, that's my business. Like, I'm in the self-education, self-development business now, and I'd really, really appreciate any help that you would be able or willing to give. If you haven't already, follow me on social media. Just look me up on LinkedIn, Gary Gillan, or Gary Gillan Coaching on Facebook. Subscribe to my mailing list, which you can see on garygillan.com on the very first page there. Keep me in mind if you need any help, if your organisation needs any help, if your neighbours' organisations need any help. Listen to my podcast. I do a podcast each week. I do a blog every other week. Sorry, a podcast every other week and a blog every other week, all on self-help, self-development topics. I would kick myself if I didn't use this platform in some way to let everyone know what goes on when I'm not wearing my NARSA hat. I'm open for any team or individual coaching, any business consulting, teaching, speaking, or any podcast interview slots and such there. And you can email me directly at hello@garygillan.com or visit, as I mentioned earlier, there, garygillan.com. Hopefully I didn't lose too many of you during that particular part. I did want to just say this, and I'll maybe provide the odd wee tidbit or update and as we go forward, especially if time allows. But any help you can provide, if you've ever started a new business, you know how difficult it can be. And as I say, I would kick myself. I kind of am kicking myself for not mentioning it too much before, but it's out there now. Any help, any guidance, any conversations you'd ever like to have, I'm more than happy to have a conversation, and I would be delighted to be able to be in a position to help you or your company as we move forward. Okay, that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. Big game this weekend. It sets us up for success, hopefully, the following weekend. Hopefully it's a similar result, and actually even an even better result would be better than the St Johnstone one that we got, and then we move on to the East End and see what happens over there. Take care and all the very best. I will talk to you next week. Follow.